r/ProRevenge.
I did to my neighbor what they did to others. To start, I bought a house with the intention of doing a flip. When I moved in, the self-appointed block captain let me know who they were the first day. Sadly, they were my next-door neighbors. I tried to be friendly, but listening to them I realized how horrible they were and tried to keep still, be civil. My significant other kept saying just wait for it to be our turn. They bragged about, though, their contacts with the city, forcing people to make improvements on their houses, getting undesirable renters out of the houses, and just harassing people in general. As I worked on flipping my house, the wife became a worse thorn in my side. To start, she demanded I put up a fence so people would quit cutting through my yard and scaring her. Then, her and the husband demanded I take care of the weeds in the yard or they will do it and bill me. After that, a tree scraped their shingles and they asked for $1,200 to replace them. The tree was there before I moved in, and by code they are responsible to cut back the branches to the property line. When I wouldn't pay, they had a relative jump my fence and cut the trees down. Needless to say, I began to ignore them, so she became a constant gnat and moved on to another target. Then one day, as I was tearing down my deck for a patio, I realized she put a feral cat colony on a section of my property. I had wondered why all the stray cats were around, and I finally found out. I reached out to the city and demanded it be removed, but they said she followed the law on getting it in place. As I tried to get it shut down, she began unhinged behavior, from standing in her window staring at me, yelling out the window at me, to hitting the fence with items to scare my dog. Here my revenge started. I started by filing a HRO/harassment restraining order against the wife and had it granted ex parte with the evidence I provided, or course she contested as it was defamatory to her character. Before the hearing, the husband tried to physically intimidate me. So I filed one against him and it was also granted ex parte. In the hearing it came up that there was an HRO against the husband as well. They dogged being served until I had it published as a means of service. I started to make complaints about them in their house. Also, I made police calls when necessary. As I did this, the other neighbors began to realize they could do to them what they had done to them and others. For example, as I was having my front door replaced, needing a building work permit. I knew they were doing internal remodeling, so I called a city inspector and they were fined for not having permit. As she ranted at the inspector, he looked at my window and saw I had mine displayed. Their back porch became hoarded, so I made another call to a city inspector and they had to clear it out. Then they had a broken window on the porch door, so I called an inspector and they had to replace the door. Next, the paint on their house was peeling, so I called an inspector and they had to repaint. The inspector also found the wood underneath was rotted along with their front porch was sloping. So, they needed to fix the front porch, sections of wood, and repaint. Through all this, they had up cameras to prove they were not doing the things I said hitting the fence. They also pointed a camera at my backyard. As it was legal to point a camera into my yard and a part of my HRO was her intrusive watching behaviors, I gave the camera the middle finger on my way to and from my garage. When she complained, with the city tiring of her, their response was she was admitting to intrusively watching me. The fight over the cat colony came to an end when I realized one of the cats had a serious disease and I began to capture them and turn them into animal control. Don't worry, animal control was part of the feral cat program, so they would not be put down, but the neighbor would have to pay a fine to get each cat out or have the colony closed. Finally, I caught the sick one and it had rabies. Part of the program was for her to capture each new cat, have it vaccinated. Something she admitted to willing not doing on her GoFund for the colony. I soon had the GoFund shut down when I provided the evidence she was not using the funds as she stated they were going to be used. The city now had to act to close the colony. The person at Animal Control who wouldn't respond to my complaints was fired. The neighbors called in a city mediator who we met with, presented all the evidence and said we would not meet with them, and provided extremely racist tweets they made about neighbors. The city cut ties with them as community leaders. With their power to bully gone and having spent what I can only imagine in fines and repairs, like they did to numerous other neighbors. After 14 years they sold their house and moved out, way out to the suburbs where they only have one neighbor about 50 yards away. They knew I was wrapping up my flip and would be out in less than a year. Without being able to bully their neighbors, with people having their back, they seemed to have no further reason to stay. Needless to say, I did several more things to wear them down. Finally, when I listed my house, it was sold while theirs was still on the market. As a final FU to them, I reported to the county they had both the new and old house listed as their homestead, meaning they were paying less in property taxes, so they got hit in with more fines on my way out.
A response to the post.
You flipped the house, you flipped them off, and you flipped the tables on them. What didn't you flip?
A response to this comment.
If op is bald, their hair.
A response to the post.
Cut down your trees? Where are all the amateur tree lawyers at?
A response to this comment.
I know, right? That's a lot of money you could have gotten.
A response to the post.
Curios in how someone can put a colony of stray cats somewhere like that.
A response to this comment.
You basically adopt a colony and move them to somewhere near your location so they can be fed and kept warm and safe while still living outside, since many are too feral to be moved inside safely. Your job then becomes make sure all our fixed all kittens are taken into a foster. Any new cats that may join are checked and fixed as well. Make sure you have proper care and warm housing for them to go to in bad weather. A lot goes into it, but basically you adopt a crap ton of outside feral cats and become their caregiver.
A response to the post.
Slow clap.
A response to the post.
This ticks every box on the how to legally fuck with a public nuisance neighbor, and I love it.
A response to the post.
You described my next door neighbor to the T. The block captain did all the same things and fucked with people for no reason. Ex-cop mentality, and guess what? I slapped up cameras all over the house, only 2 were real, and the bullshit stopped immediately. New chick moved in next door and she started right out the gate with blocking my driveway with a bumper of a car. Tried to be nice but nope. She got ghetto with me and I pointed to the camera and the shit stopped with her too.
A response to the post.
That's not pro, my friend, that's nuclear.